Hey, welcome to another episode of NOLAforever.com. We're right here in the heart of New Orleans, right between the old historic French Quarter and the new CBD, Central Business District. And today we're going to do another tour, but this time in 4K. We're going to take a trip down mostly the French Quarter, but also the areas surrounding the French Quarter, like Canal Street right here. So this here is the Central Business District, or more commonly known as the CBD, right next to Canal Street in downtown New Orleans. As you can see here, there are a lot of buildings here. And there's actually definitely a history to the CBD. Originally, it was separated by Canal Street, which basically separated the old settlers in the French Quarter area and then new people coming into the area, which is across Canal Street into the CBD and down to the Garden District and beyond. And there's some more buildings right here. So there's a lot of commerce here. There's also the streetcars go through here as well, as you can see.
I was yoked out. All right, let's go. All right.
So right here we are on Royal Street, which is right next to Bourbon Street. And this is a great street if you actually want to come to a lot of restaurants. So this is the perfect place to get your New Orleans eat on and check out these really cool tours right here with the carriages. Really, really awesome. And so you can just walk down here. So right here we have Chartres Street, which is right next to Royal, and it's right next to the most famous area of New Orleans, which is the St. Louis Cathedral, as you can see right there. But if we look back here, there's the rest of Chartres Street, and if you go straight down there, there's Canal Street, and right down here you're going to end up pretty much at the beginning of the French Quarter, the main street. We're going to head down there next, but let's go ahead and check out St. Louis Cathedral. So right here is the very famous St. Louis Cathedral. There's so many things right here. There's a lot of artists down here as well. There is a park in the center, and there's actually a museum right here. And right there is the St. Louis Cathedral. There is a lot of history there. And so it's also still an active cathedral. And we can actually go inside as well. There is also musicians down here as well. So an absolutely breathtaking spot. I highly recommend that you do not miss this area. And if you actually look at the whole history of the Battle of New Orleans, this was a central area as well. So let's go ahead and check it out. So here is the front of the St. Louis Cathedral. It's absolutely breathtaking. And now we're actually going to head into the park, which is a nice little contrast to the structures right there. There is the statue of Andrew Jackson, if I'm not mistaken. So, nice little area. Just a stunning view. So right here is the entrance to the St. Louis Cathedral, and there is the statue of Major General Andrew Jackson. And right across the street is probably the most famous coffee shop in the world. It is Café du Monde. But we also have all the horse carriages as well for tours. And so if you want to take the tours, this is the perfect place to come. And right across the street, if you go above there, you will see the Natchez Steamboat. And let's go ahead and check this out. And Right there is Jack's Old Brewery. And there is the carriages right here. Right there. So right here is the artillery, and right there is the Mississippi, and you could actually get on a Natchez steamboat. Then there's the Jack's Brewery, and then as we look right here, another beautiful shot of the St. Louis Cathedral. It's probably one of the best views you're gonna get of the cathedral, besides actually being inside itself. And right down there is Café du Monde, and there's the Riverwalk right here. So right here we're on Decatur, pretty much the beginning of the French Quarter in my opinion. And right there is Café du Monde, probably the most famous coffee shop in the world. It was actually a butcher meat shop when it first started. And right here we actually have the St. Louis Cathedral. There's the whole artist area right here. And there's also restaurants here as well, as you can see there. So lots to see. And so this is basically where all the action is. And if you are going to be coming to Café du Monde, there's definitely going to be a wait because it is definitely a very famous tourist spot. So as you can see there, there's a long line. But I think it's well worth it for the actual experience. And if you head down through Decatur further, you will end up in the French Market District and then the Bywater. And so that's kind of where everything starts in my opinion. But this is where most people are going to come as well when they are visiting New Orleans. They're going to come right here. And so this here is Dauphine. It is a lesser known area of the French Quarter, along with Rampart as well. So this is right behind Bourbon Street. And there are a lot of people who actually have business here, but a lot of people live here as well. So we'll go on to the very next street over where there's definitely more residential. See there are a lot of old style buildings, as you can tell, the French and Spanish influence. And the reason why I like these fringes, this Dauphine and Rampart, is that there's not as many tourists in these areas, and so you could really take time to appreciate all the architecture and history here. So this is Burgundy, the other half of the fringes of the French Quarter. So this is right next to Dauphine. And as I mentioned earlier, this is really primarily residential. So a lot of locals live right here in the French Quarter. And so as you can see here, there's not as many businesses. And then if you look right there and go straight down, you will end up back in Dauphine and of course Bourbon Street. So right here we have North Rampart. I just call it Rampart, and I consider this like the end of the French Quarter, because once you walk past Bourbon Street, Dauphine, and then Burgundy, this is actually the French Quarter, you would end up right here on Rampart, and it's more just traffic, you know, just business, you know. But this is not business like you would have in the Central Business District. So if you go straight down there, you would end up on Canal Street, and that is pretty much the end of the French Quarter tour. I really highly recommend that you come here to New Orleans, you know, just kind of travel, get lost, explore, and of course have a great time here in New Orleans in the French Quarter.